Supernoria by Walter Schaefer. Chapter 1 South Pole. She sat in the maintenance room of a public restroom, a tangled bundle in her hands. It was made of fine, shimmering fibers. Each individual strand was as long as the inertia of an event. If she managed to untangle the bundle, she would have calculated the solution. It was rare for her to completely solve one, especially with her current employer. Partial solutions, however, were sufficient. The main goal was to prevent the knot from tightening further, trapping the solution forever with an attractor. Past events had imprinted themselves like frames on a film, and in principle should have had little influence on the solution, if there was no competition. The past can only affect the future once it's activated or recalled. There was only one antidote to calculate against the opponents. That was Kat's task. A girl who would have liked to be born on Terminus. The choice of one's birthplace did not exist. What was possible, however, was to imagine how life might have been if one had been born elsewhere. What would it have been like to be born in a desert land of utter emptiness, or in an overcrowded city on a middle continent, or on the moon, in a highly structured colony? These were good questions to pass the time. Where would you choose to be born? Kat asked her friend Lynn. Does it matter? He replied. I'd like to have been born on Terminus, the planet from well-known novels. It's a... Kat broke off suddenly. She had heard someone enter the restroom. It was the candidate of an election campaign for whom she performed the calculations. Every candidate had a department of research who carried out the calculations and the counter-calculations for them. His name was so short that it could have lodged subconsciously in the working memory of an average voter. He was called Mr. O. His opponent was called Mr. U. From a distance, one could tell visually whether someone was speaking about Mr. O or Mr. U. The shape of the lip was different. That was important because voters rarely truly listened to what the candidates were saying. The candidates' names were also the names of their parties. By subtle emphasis, an expert could distinguish the hierarchy within the party among the O's or the U. The name of the candidate, Mr. O, was pronounced as long O. The lower one stood in the hierarchy, the shorter the sound became. There was also the E party, which had always almost succeeded. E simply sounded odd, and it was never truly taken seriously by voters, no matter what proposals Mr. E made. The sounds of O and U had over generations become positively imprinted in the basal areas of the brain. This was a great achievement of O and U. For that reason, E was kept around as a kind of counterbalance. Where there is we, there must also be they. Mr. O stood before the reflector and sang an obligatory melody, O. It was a good exercise in loyalty. Repeated over years, it produced lines in the face, so that one could visually recognize whether someone belonged to the O's, the U's, or the E's. Kat remained seated quietly in the maintenance room, absorbed in her task, without considering that someone might notice her hiding place. For the upper stratum of the society to which the visitors of this public restroom belonged to, maintenance rooms were practically invisible. Kat herself belonged to the upper stratum. She had learned about the maintenance rooms hidden behind smooth, seamless walls from her grandmother, and so knew how to activate the door. Her grandmother had emigrated to the continent and had to start from the very bottom, despite being a loyal O. Kat had often wondered how it was possible to keep such a complex system under control, like a synchronized mind of humanity that regulated everything and ensured a stable solution. Mr. O's singing was interrupted by loud counter-singing by Mr. U, his direct opponent on this continent. Good day. Haven't you had an answer for me? I had a fine counter-calculation today. Wanna practice some O with me? Mr. O replied sarcastically. Today you, tomorrow me. In 2 weeks, at the South Pole. Did you forget? Mr. U whispered. Yes, I received the invitation as well. Oh, Mr. O replied, continuing his practice. Mr. U left the room first, followed by Mr. O. Afterwards, the staff had to clean the restroom. Two tall men opened the maintenance room and stepped inside. They didn't pay any attention to Cat and went about their work. If you know how to open the maintenance room, you belong. Cat opened her calendar and searched for the appointments 2 weeks ahead. She and the entire department had been released from duty for 31 hours. Interesting, she said, and left the restroom. To be continued. This novel is written by Walter Schaefer, a German physicist, and his daughter. Translation and promotion Veronica. Thank you for your attention. See you next time. Goodbye.